Good morning, everybody. It is Friday morning. You made it to the end of the week. And here's Leigh-Ann, here's Mbulelo, and here's you and me. Oh, it's a nice day. It's a beautiful day, actually. We're in a little bit of summer this week because we actually had a few days of sun in a row. It's pretty wild. I mean, we're not used to that in Gauteng, where the climate has changed. Al Gore will be pleased to know. The climate has changed from savanna to, what are we now? We're like a tropical rainforest. There's pretty much rain every day in December this year. Well, last year and January of this year. So, you know, a couple of days of sun in a row and we don't know what to do with ourselves. Although there was a little bit of rain last night. The reason I know that... I can't wait to tell you this story.
Oh, dear.
Good morning, Ass. Good morning, Mbulelo. How's it?
Good morning.
Hello.
Yes, grand rising, as Lebang likes.
Salutations.
Yes, salutations. Mbulelo, I found that little bag of your rocks in the studio, your crystals. I saw them yesterday.
Disrespectful.
I was there yesterday recording, and I saw your little bag of rocks, and I thought, wow, you have a whole collection there. There's little blue ones and pink ones and orange ones and all kinds of things. So it's a real serious thing.
Yeah, no, it's a different energy. If you want to capture sort of a more feminine, female energy,
yes.
Yeah, then you go with warmer colors, etc. I don't want to go on because for the light to find you, your heart must be open. So
there we go. See?
Yeah.
But I'm very impressed that we haven't seen this side of you, and now I can appreciate it, having seen your little collection of rocks. They're in a bag that looks like it's made out of the same material as panties. Just show everybody. Don't be ashamed.
Show us your panties.
Yeah. That's your little rock-filled panty bag.
That's it. And it's not rocks, it's crystals. Let's be respectful. And so, all of us as human beings make this mistake. And I often hear it before I show you, obviously, the energies. And is that we often say we are human beings who have spiritual experiences, whereas we are actually spirits that are having a human experience. So I just want to get that right.
Yes, very important.
Straight off the bat,
Yeah.
So here it is.
There we go. All the rocks. They're all the rocks. Look at them.
There
so many rocks. Amazing.
In their elements.
All right, that's enough of that. So
show us the panties.
Show us the little bag. Show us the little panty bag. Yeah. There it is.
Oh, gee. I don't know who you're dating, Gareth.
No, man, you know what I mean. It's like that, like maybe not panties, maybe like stockings or something.
Yeah, it's like the lacy part
like
of
lacy. That's what.
Yeah, I hear you.
My panties are certainly not made of that.
No, if they were, then I think
they're a little bit more. They're a little bit more hardy these days.
Yeah, that's maybe for the much more delicate type of vagina.
Yeah.
All right. So listen, last night, and I had a long day yesterday. I got to the office. I had lots to do in the morning. We had the show and everything else. I got to the office around lunchtime. I was there for meetings most of the afternoon. I had a meeting at 5, which was cancelled at like 10 to 5, which is really annoying. And then I squeezed in some gym, and then I went off to dinner with a couple that I haven't seen in a long time. And I mean, they've had one kid in the time I haven't seen them. So it's been a while. And that kid is already, I think, 3 years old or something.
Jeez,
so it was time to catch up with them. Went to this lovely place in what's it called, Parkhurst. And anyway, had a lovely dinner. And then I went out to the car, and the car guard comes up to you, and they're like, "Yeah, have you got some money for me? I looked after. There's your car, and so." Yeah. So I'm like, "Yeah, cool. I can see my car's still there. Thanks very much. I've got some change in the car. Come, let's go." And I get there, and the passenger window has been smashed out.
Oh, for fuck's sake!
Yeah, exactly. And when there's glass all over the passenger seat, I'm like, "Oh, thank God it isn't the driver's seat, because otherwise I had to clear that glass with my hands." Anyway, I immediately go, "Oh shit, hang on." I went into the restaurant. I pay with my cell phone, right? Because I've got Apple Pay on this thing.
Yeah.
And so I left my wallet in the car.
I know, Gareth.
And I left my bag in the car with this laptop that I'm using here now, this thing.
Oh my Lord.
But that was in the boot. Anyway, these morons who decided to rob me last night, they took my gym bag, these idiots. So they got nothing but a towel, an old pair of shorts, and like a little toiletries bag with like hair stuff and deodorant and crap in it. So they got nothing, you motherfuckers.
Did they not?
Nothing. My wallet was still in the door of the driver's seat. My laptop was in the bag in the boot. These morons missed all the items of value. I left them there for them, waiting, and they got fucking old gym stuff. Yeah.
Oh, I don't believe it. Okay, just hang on now. Where was the gym
Right.
bag? Was it in sight?
So here's the thing. The gym bag was on the floor of the passenger seat. Because I went
But
straight
Gareth,
from the gym to the dinner.
you're asking for your window to be broken.
No,
You do
hang
know
on.
that.
Okay, but hang on. I mean, like, it might have been, what a clever decoy, someone would say. Not Leigh-Ann Moll, but someone else would say. What a clever
it's
decoy.
not worth the window risk.
No, but here's the thing. And like, people are going to rob a car, right? And they might rob your car. There might not be any cars with any bags anywhere in sight. And I mean, the boot of this car, you've seen that SUV that I'm driving from Phil. It's a huge car. And the boot is open. You can see it in the back, right? So there was a bag in the boot. There was my wallet in the driver's door, but they got the gym bag because it looked to them like there might have been some things of value in it. I'm so excited about this because although normally you'd be really pissed off if someone broke your car window and stole your stuff, I'm so okay with this because I'm like, you got nothing, you stupid assholes. You got nothing of value. I'm so proud of you. That's why you're stupid. That's why you're poor. And that's why you steal from people like me.
Look, I see your point. So just some background. I've lived in Parkhurst in 3 different houses. And what
you used to go out there all the time. So you know the place like the back of your hand.
So every time I parked in the street, what I would do is leave my cubby hole open.
Right.
So you could see there was nothing in there. And take because it's a hatchback, it's easier that way. Take the backboard off so you can see directly into the boot and have nothing in there.
But
and that
what a thing to do.
And I would just drive around without the backboard, and then I would just open the cubby hole as I left the car. And that would really help because everyone could see there was absolutely nothing in the car.
So there's the car. As I found it, there's the passenger seat full of this glass. They left my umbrella too, which is a damn fine umbrella. So they actually got nothing. I even had sunglasses. You see that little thing in the console in the middle? My sunglasses were in there. Very nice pair of Ray-Ban sunglasses.
My Lord, Gareth.
You didn't get that either, you sack of shit. No, nothing. So the car guard still has the temerity to come up to me to ask for money after that. So I'm like, no, dude.
I don't think he saw what went on. And I have a feeling that they were busted or scared. So they just took the first thing they saw.
No, I think they went for the bag and I'm kind of okay. Of course, I didn't pay the car guard. So
no, I can't pay for that.
No. So anyway, that was my adventure for last night. But, it was such a nice dinner. And I was out of there by like 9:30. So it wasn't even a late night. And I've just realized, like, I should have really probably Ubered. I mean, not that we were drinking or anything. But these days, why leave your car somewhere where it's likely to have this kind of thing happen? I'm Ubering everywhere from now on. I've got solutions to these problems, and I'm not going to let it get me down. So many people would go, oh, the crime. And I understand, like, I should be pissed off about it, and I'll have to pay for the window to be fixed today, and that's going to be a bit of a schlep, I'm sure. But there are solutions to these things, everybody. And you know what? Life is, if the hardest thing that happens to you is that someone steals your shitty old gym bag, and it really was a shitty old bag with shitty stuff in it. How lucky am I? What a fortunate human being. What a great human. Because I checked immediately. I thought, oh, God. As I got into the car, I was going to just drive away. I thought, oh, the laptop. Because not so much that it is a valuable laptop or that I have information on there that's important or anything else. It was like, oh, how am I going to do the show tomorrow morning if I don't have a laptop? So I quickly went to the boot. I felt my bag. I was like, okay, your bag's still here. Laptop's still here. What did these guys get? And then I suddenly remembered gym bag, idiots.
It reminds me of a realization that hit me when I was doing television journalism. And we used to get the raw footage from various, overseas media houses.
Yes.
And then we would need to edit them depending on our laws and what was acceptable TV. So we would see everything before we could censor it.
Yeah.
And I remember a girl in Iraq whose mother had been shot and killed, and she was in the middle of the road, middle of a dusty road. And this little girl, they hadn't found her, was now hidden in this half bombed house. And she waited for days for it to be cleared, for the area to clear up before she could drag her mom's body inside this half bombed house with her.
Oh.
And I thought to myself, and what are the things that are worrying me right now?
Yeah.
Oh, I must take off my backboard and open my cubby hole so that my window doesn't get smashed. So what? You make these tiny concessions to live your life every day, and people complain about it. Just think about what other people are going through in life.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a lot of people in the comments are saying here, like Carol Jean, she says, sorry, Gareth, only a dumbass would leave valuables in their car. Yeah, but that's like those people who say when a girl's walking around in a short skirt, she's asking for it. That's not, I don't go into the world like Leigh-Ann did in Parkhurst, and maybe she was just more experienced, but expecting terrible things to happen, I don't go into the world. I'm in my reality. I'm not assuming the absolute worst about everyone all the time. And maybe that's a failing of mine, but I don't want to live like that in constant and perpetual fear. And I really don't like the idea that we, Carol Jean or Carol Jean or whatever, you're victim blaming, baby. That's not very nice.
Yeah. And I mean, all I wanted to know, how did Jim go?
It was great. I got a good session in. I was very happy about that.
That's good. You see,
it was a very productive day from beginning to end. So,
but also, like, people also, to the contrary of Leigh-Ann's point, although Leigh-Ann's absolutely right, is that everyone thinks the problems in their lives are the biggest problems in the world, right? To somebody living in Liechtenstein in a castle, the fact that her, the prince she wants to marry is the biggest problem in her life. It's as big a problem as, I don't know, whatever problems we've got. So there's also that. But what I wanted to say is crime's not that regular, actually. Otherwise, we wouldn't be shocked. You know what I mean? It doesn't happen that often. People's cars get broken into in Australia.
No,
like it still happens.
It doesn't happen that often. And I must tell you, like, I'm not one of those people who feels really sorry for myself when something bad does happen to me, even much, much, much worse stuff than this. I tend to get over these things fairly quickly. I'm lucky in that respect. Some people, it upsets them, it fixates, they obsess, they play it over and over in their heads again and again. I mean, I've had car accidents that have been pretty awful. I've, gone through stuff like that, and then you do replay it in your head. But my tendency is to move on fairly quickly and resolve the problem in a practical sense rather than internalize it and go over and over it and let it drag you down and all that stuff. And that's pure luck. I know that that's just a chemical trick that my brain is better at playing than some people's. But, again, I'm so lucky to have had this happen rather than something that's a whole lot worse. I've had stories in the last while of, my brother was held up at gunpoint for his cell phone just last year. And that's obviously a lot more traumatic. And I think, lucky me, got away with this. I did drive home, though, worried that it was going to rain. And then I got home and had to put a plastic, a black rubbish bag over it and kind of tape it on just to make sure the car didn't get wet if it rained last night. So if that's the biggest problem I have, lucky me. It's Friday. I'm feeling good. I have to fix a car window this morning. I'll squeeze that into all the other things I have to do.
Speaking of plastic bags, I bought those clear bags so that I can use them for recycling.
Yes.
And for some reason, they really stink, but noticeably.
Like a plasticky smell?
Worse. Like they've been recycled along with dog carcasses.
Oh.
They stink badly. So much so that that
Ew.
I had an estate agent in the house, and she was standing near the bin, and I could see her kind of drawing breath and looking down. The bin was empty. It's this freaking bag. And then my domestic worker came in the other day, and she was like, "These bags stink."
Oh.
It's so weird. It just shows
Well, that's
you
gonna
that
stop. You see, no good deed goes unpunished. Hey, you're trying to
exactly.
save the environment, and you're being punished for it with stinky bags.
Yeah, so weird.
That'll put me right off of trying to help anybody. Anyway, yeah, I heard a couple of stories yesterday of people where that line, "No good deed goes unpunished," came up. You can't fix some problems on Earth, try as you may. And humans are getting better and better at fixing a whole lot of things, but some problems we're just not going to fix. We've got to accept that. This idea that, there are all these people that walk the earth who want to help the poor. And it comes from a good place, right? It comes from a place of like, I'm fortunate. I have things, and I have time and space, and I have purpose and meaning, and I have a life, and I have a job, and I have good relationships. And let me share the love with everybody else. It comes from a good place. But actually, as the Buddhists will tell you, who the hell do you think you are that the poor are begging for your help? And sometimes they're really not. Like, obviously, if it's a beggar on the street, he's very directly asking for help, or just for alms, for charity. But who the hell asked you to go and like start a soup kitchen for the poor? Who do you think you are? They've got their own priorities and their own purpose, and they're not lining up outside your house with a petition to please help them. But these people appoint themselves out of either guilt or out of kindness. So sometimes it's a very good motivation. But like, to get involved in other people's lives. Can you imagine just pitching up at someone who doesn't have a good relationships life, and you have a good one, and you go to their door and you're like, "Hey, Cheryl, I've noticed that you're really shitty at relationships, and I'm good at them. Let me help you." Imagine doing that, the temerity of someone doing that. Someone who's good with money going up to someone else's house and going, "Hey, Tom, I heard you're really shit at managing your money, and you're constantly in debt, and they're going to repossess your house. So let me tell you how money works." I mean, who do you think you are, There is something about that you you then insert yourself into someone else's life
Yeah,
because you
absolutely.
have some ability, some superiority. Like, you've got to advise yourself by being a little outside of yourself sometimes and go, actually, unless they come to you for help, who the hell do you think you are? Just offering help. What are you, some kind of benevolent demigod that you're walking around this earth helping the poor and helping the sick and helping the ones who've got relationship issues and helping the ones who have bad interior decoration choices? Who do you think you are?
It reminds me of the note that I found on my windscreen once when I got into the car at work. And it was from a Christian colleague. And she'd left a prayer just saying, "I thought maybe you needed a prayer."
Just in general. I've seen how you operate from 6 in the morning till 6 in the evening.
The Lord spoke to me and told me that you needed a prayer.
Yeah. You see, that is precisely, that was always the most annoying thing about probably very good people who meant well. When someone does that, they mean well. They're like, "I'm praying for you," because in their minds, you need help. And also in their minds, they are the one best equipped to help you. They've decided.
They must do it.
Yeah, some extraordinary part of them is so convinced. There's such an enormous amount of self-assuredness that they're going to help you, that they just offer the help that wasn't required, that you didn't ask.
And if they don't do it, no one else will.
Oh, yeah.
It's their responsibility.
So a couple of comments here, like Ricardo says, "Crom has become part of life here, the feeling of having your name tag ripped off." Yeah, it is. But I mean, I'm also, someone jokes here. Carl says, "So Gareth, are you going to immigrate to Australia now?" Yeah.
That's so good.
But listen to this. I mean, here's a much more sad situation. Achter in die Hoek says, "I have 7 stab wounds, scars, a bullet hole in my leg. I was stabbed in my hand 2 weeks ago." Jesus.
Where do you live?
Yo.
Wat gaan daaraan?
Wow. Where's that happening that regularly?
Yeah.
Hey, Michael says something. This is a good idea. Keep a few rubber snakes hidden in and around the interior of your car, and you may not prevent robberies, but it will shorten the duration of the incident.
That's true.
Why not live ones? Keep some
Yeah.
live snakes in your car. It's not very
You'd have
nice
to
for the
train
snake.
them.
Yeah, but the snakes also get very hot, and
Yeah,
maybe
they don't.
animal rights activists will get involved here, so I'm not going to go down that path. Ryan says, "Did you hear about that prick Nelson Mandela's grandson?" I hope you don't mean that prick Nelson Mandela.
I don't.
Yeah,
That's why commas are so important there.
You need and
Yeah.
apostrophes. So Ryan, I don't. But what's the story, and which grandson is it? Because I know a couple of them. So I'd love to hear what the story is there. I didn't see anything in the news yesterday. Oh, I've got a couple of news stories for you today. Oh man, I heard some news stories. I made notes yesterday about some of the news stories we've got to talk about.
Goodness.
Yeah.
Gracious. Yeah. It's why the biggest douchebags in the world, and I think I've said it since I started here, I find people who write philanthropist as a title on like their LinkedIn or wherever it may be, they are the biggest dicks in the world. No matter who you are, I lose immediate respect for you. Philanthropist. Get the hell out of here, man.
And
I
also,
mean, generally...
Again, can you imagine the amount of hubris you have? That's the word. Hubris you have to appoint yourself to a position no one asked you to occupy. I always think these people who like speak on behalf of the poor or the community, you know, these people who just appoint themselves. I was like, where did you get, show me your mandate. Show me where they said, yeah, a bunch of, and first of all, how do you even know all the people who supposedly gave you this mandate are poor? You don't know their financial circumstances. It's like someone will say to you, yeah, you know, that company, they don't look after their staff. And you're like, oh, really? Are you the employer? Are you the one who's paying them the salary? You care more than the person who's paying them a salary every month? That's amazing. You must be imbued with extraordinary empathy.
Yeah.
I don't see you parting with Mbulelo's salary every month because you care so much about him. You know, someone's got an opinion on like, oh, Leigh-Ann, can't believe you work on that show with Gareth and Mbulelo. They're such misogynists. And frankly, you know, meanwhile,
well, that's a bad example because it's true.
Well, it is. It's a bad example, sure.
Yeah.
But those people have an opinion on like our working relationship or on someone else's girlfriend or whatever. And you're like, hang on, you're actually telling me you know more than the people involved? Wow. You must have superpowers.
Hey, I learned, you know, you're eliciting some feelings I'd repressed. I learned this lesson from getting involved in someone's relationship by saying, yeah, bro, that chick's terrible. Ha. Meantime, my man now goes and gets back together with her by that weekend, and I haven't spoken to him in 11 years, to your point. Like, where was I going? What did I think I was doing? So now I know, never give an opinion. So number one, if people are in a relationship, I never really quite trust them when they're telling me something, even if they're my best friend, because whatever happens behind closed doors, you never quite know what's going on there. You never get the full story. So it's a great point. It's something I'll take forward, what you're saying.
Yeah, I do agree with you, though, that one of the very worst things is when someone says in their biography or they tell you what they do and you ask them, like if you say, what is your job? And they say philanthropist.
Oh, my God.
No, you're not. You're really not. I mean, I don't even think even a rich asshole like Bill Gates, who is a philanthropist just because he gives away a whole lot of his money, right?
That's the title that other people bestow upon you. You don't give yourself.
Yeah. It's the same. Exactly. It's kind of the same if a guy says he's a gentleman. I'm like, oh, who decided that?
Who would say that? Yeah. I mean, I just say I'm humble. You know what I mean? I'm the most humble person I know. That's about as much as I'll ever say. Yeah,
that's exactly the same.
Which I think is fair. That's fair. That's objective.
Yeah. All right. Well, there's some interesting stuff for us to ponder this fine Friday morning. Grab yourself a cup of coffee. Let's get your day started. Hopefully you have a lot to do. And this weekend, you have a lot less to do. You can spend some time just chilling and enjoying a little bit of your hard work in the month of January. Because, of course, it is the end of the month. So many people will be paid this week. That means your bank balance may just creep back into the black instead of the red.
What a long month. What a long month. I got paid yesterday, and I was so excited that I immediately got into my car and went to the shop.
No.
I did.
What did you buy?
And I bought cigarettes in bulk.
Look at you.
That's awesome.
I bought
That is
cat tuna in bulk.
Oh my
Everything that
God.
was on sale, I was like,
Look at you.
yeah,
Have
very
you
excited.
Have you felt a bit deprived the last few weeks, Leigh-Ann?
Yeah, definitely. I've been waiting.
Very good.
Definitely
All right.
been eating end of the month salty cracks.
amazing.
All right. Well, if you've been through some redistribution of your own wealth in the last couple of days, like I did with my gym bag,
Oh yes.
then what goes around comes around. So the way I tend to think about it is that when something like that happens, the cup will be filled from some other source. So unfortunately for me, it was, in some way, unfortunately, because it was more than a gym bag, I might have a lot more coming to me. But now I'm going to get, I don't know, a 50 Rand bag and some crappy shorts and a towel, maybe. Some toiletries. That's
Was
what's
the
headed my
towel
way.
used?
Well, I used it at gym, yeah. I mean, it was,
Fantastic.
yeah, it's great. So it's like a sweaty gym towel. Good luck to
What
them. I think
what kind of towel was it? You see, that's important as well. I mean, if it was an imported Italian
No.
material, perhaps
dude,
you're
No, it was
getting
just
back.
this was just
No.
a crotch towel.
Oh,
No,
just-
like
It was for swass.
it's a really terrible gym towel. Like I don't use good towels at the gym. Do you?
no, I just use whatever they got at the gym. I mean, I go to a pretty nice gym, so the towels they are.
You go to a gym where they give you the towels. I got you. Okay.
Laughs. It's you know what? In a place where there's so much crime, it's got to be a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle, Gareth. Going to the gym's not just about getting ripped and jacked.
what, Mabalula Leo? It's true, hey. If you live in a crime-riddled area, it makes more sense for you to just go to the gym with the towels, so that if they steal the towels, it's not your towels.
Yeah.
All right, very good. Very good. Here's some headlines for you this morning. I'm going to go through my headlines. I mean, Simpiwe and Dori have cooked up a whole lot of headlines here for us, and I promise you. So we got Pam and Tommy. Pamela Anderson, do you really care about that? I'm going to say no.
I always do.
Pamela Anderson's 60-something years old, right?
Wow.
She was complaining the other day in the news that she broke up with her 5th husband. And she says, she has the temerity to say, he wasn't the one.
Oh, if she still
Really?
thinks that there's just one person in the world.
But she's been through 5 husbands already. But she's like, he's not the one. I'm like,
Shocking.
Pam, baby, Pam, honey. And I mean, what guy in the whole world didn't at one point think Pamela Anderson was hot, right? Especially if you're older than 25 and you even know who Pamela Anderson is. There's some point in your life where you like looked at a poster of Pamela Anderson and you were like, whoa, right? But now, thank God, I look at her and I go, Pam, with your 5 husbands and your career and the fact that you made the money that you did and then the sex tape with Tommy Lee and all that stuff, you know what? You lucked out because you have not got a lot of brains, but you look good and you got the Baywatch job from David Hasselhoff. And lucky you, because you got to matter in this world. Like, good for you, Pam, because you could have just been a stripper if things hadn't gone your way. Then it would have been a lot worse. And then you would have found many more of the ones, during the course of your work, I'm sure. Anyway, so that's one of the headlines. There's a new Pam and Tommy movie, and Lily James plays Pamela Anderson in the series. So I can't figure out if it's a movie or a series, but either way, this Lily James, who is Downton Abbey star, and she has transformed into Pamela Anderson. And apparently people are saying it is a triumph. People are always impressed when an actor or actress pretends really well. They're blown away, like, wow. For example, you could have some lady who's grown up in abject poverty here in South Africa, in a rural area, and she's had to raise 4 other people's children. She's had to till the earth with her bare hands. She's had to fetch water in buckets kilometers away. She's made it to 60 years old and has raised 7 kids that weren't her own. And they'll go, but an actor or actress will transform into something special on the screen. And they're like, oh, wow, you can pretend so well. You're so good at pretending, and those makeup people are so good, and you lost a whole 10 kilograms for the role. And that granny's getting no credit for raising those 7 kids, but the actor gets credit for pretending, you know? So anyway, that's the story with Pamela Anderson. But here are my stories for the morning. First things first, Peter Dinklage, the dwarf, right? From Game of Thrones.
Great pretender.
He's a great pretender, and he's very upset because, you know, of course, we all realize that the most unfair thing that could happen to anyone is that Hollywood doesn't represent them properly, or that they're stereotyped in a movie, or that there aren't enough Latina women in, you know, a show about Europe in the 1600s. That's the kind of thing that really pisses Hollywood off, and actors especially, because they're all so woke. Well, Peter Dinklage, who can run under a table without bending his knees, is very upset because he says Snow White, which Disney's just remade, right? They made a Snow White movie. And you know it's called Snow White because she had snow white skin, and then there are 7 dwarves. The whole title tells you everything you need to know. There's this woman called Snow White, and there are 7 dwarves. Well, Peter Dinklage is upset because he says, while the Snow White character. Sorry, he doesn't sound like that, but that's how in my head.
He's actually got quite a deep voice.
He's got quite a deep voice. So he goes, while the Snow White character is now going to be played by a Latina woman, which again kind of obviates the point of Snow White. Anyway, not complaining. Maybe they needed some, you know, Disney needed to win over the Latina audience to Snow White because they might not have had that fairy tale when they were kids. And Peter Dinklage is upset because he's like, oh, they still use the word dwarf, and they use these dwarves, and there's 7 of them, and they live in a cave, and they mine, and it's so stereotypical of dwarves. And I'm like, what? You literally have made every cent you've ever made in your life by playing a dwarf because you're a dwarf.
And on the Thor movie, he was a giant that was still a dwarf. He's a dwarf.
He's a dwarf.
So he appropriated a normal height person. In fact, an extra normal height person. So that's weird that he's complaining about that.
He may be,
but also let's just remember the terms here. Dwarf. He's not a dwarf. He's the other disparaging term, midget.
No, he's a dwarf. No, he's a dwarf. He's got the big dwarf head. No, he's a dwarf.
No, a dwarf is a short person who still has the same proportions.
No, he's not. He's a dwarf. He suffers from, or doesn't suffer from, but he has a dwarfism. It's a thing.
Which is a person with the same proportions, just smaller. Which no,
that's
not.
A midget. That's a midget. I know this. I get into trouble for this all the time. I've checked the definitions because I've got into shit.
Okay. I believe you.
Fucking dwarf is complaining about being a dwarf.
So, but is the term dwarf offensive? So, sorry, have we been globally told now that it's offensive? So are we supposed to say is the correct term little people?
No, it's like people with albinism somehow is different to albino, and people with dwarfism is different to a dwarf. But this is Peter Dinklage. The whole reason we know he exists is because he's a dwarf.
Wow.
It's so ridiculous. Time. This is so ridiculous. And by the way, he's also
weird because he's usually a really cool guy.
Yes, I know. And he's also ruining it for all the other dwarfs who might become actors. Because he's saying, from now on, I got through, but you guys can't because there's some discrimination shit going on here. It's like, no, dude, you can't complain once you're on the top floor that the elevator works.
But there's a level of success. Yeah, there's a level of success where all of them get weird. You know what I mean? It's like he is now getting into that echelon where he's really done everything. And now he's going to have that super powerful guy. They all get weird.
Yeah, they're weird. And frankly, so now it's no longer Snow White and the 7 dwarves. It's a Latina girl and 7 people of indeterminate height that we can't really specify. But it's no longer...
As a POC myself, you know, I just like maybe you guys don't see color because it's the Rainbow Nation. Shout out Madiba, who is a causer, by the way. I just want to tell you this, right? what is incredible was the worst movie of all time, Eternals, right? Worst movie of all time. Do not waste your time.
You said
But in it, they've put a Latina woman, right? Salma Hayek, a little bit famous. You may know her bosom from many other movies, right? So she is not articulate, right, in a heavy English-speaking role. It is so terrible to listen to for half the movie.
What you are saying about her accent, man?
I did that on my show, on the MKT show. Yeah, I did it on my show like that, like what she sounds like. And the guy said I was racist. I'm like, I'm not. That's what, she'd be like, Thanos be thinking he be destroying the whole world, but he even destroy nothing.
Welcome to the group of people who eventually will outnumber the people who are not in that group, because they're calling everyone a racist these days. So I've got bad news for the people who use that term on everyone else. You're putting me, Mbulelo, and other people who are perfectly harmless and are not going around causing shit for people of other races because we hate them or we think we're superior or any of that shit. You're putting us in the same category as like the Ku Klux Klan and the Avia Beer. So good luck figuring that one out once you have real enemies on the field, because we're not going to be there to help you. We're going to be like, but you called me that as well. So no, I'm not getting involved in your crazy mental antics. Anyway, enough of that.
No, but sorry, just to finish off that point before people go there, is that I'm pissed off when you let Christian Bale be a Nubian king in a movie about a Nubian era in Egypt. I mean, that's just as dickheaded.
Here's the thing. Peter Dinklage complaining about being cast as a dwarf is like us making the Black Panther Woody Harrelson. and then you know what I mean? It's like, what? Snow White. It's in the name. Snow White's got to be a white chick. That's the whole point. Skin as white as snow. I remember the fairy tale.
Yeah.
So now we put a Latino. Imagine they cast Black Panther as let me think of who's the whitest person ever.
Kirsten Dunst.
Kirsten, but she's Kirsten Dunst is Black Panther. Imagine.
Yeah,
right.
That would be wild.
Okay. So anyway, that's enough of that. There are other stories, but I don't know if we're going to have time for all of them. I'm going to give you one more. Prince Andrew, that sleazebag, he has denied he has a close relationship with Ghislaine Maxwell. Of course he's denied it, but we've got pictures. We got a picture of you, Ghislaine, and that girl who's alleging that you fondled her at a very young age. What's her name? Victoria Jeffrey or whatever her name is. Virginia Roberts. Remember?
No, Virginia Jeffrey.
Jeffrey, but her name is now Roberts, I think.
Oh.
Anyway, you know where the picture is. You know what I'm talking about. It's Prince Andrew. He's such a slime ball. He really is. He's the kind of guy, though. You know, I watched that interview when he did it months ago, and he was like giggling at all the wrong places in the interview, just like a creep would. What a creep. Prince Andrew. Anyway, so he's in the news again. He's denying that he and Ghislaine are friends. But we already have the pictures, dude. That ship
got the receipts.
Yeah, that ship has sailed. Anyway, he's in the news again. Joe Biden is expected to nominate the first Black woman to the Supreme Court. Why are we doing this? Why doesn't Joe Biden say, I'm going to find the best person to be a judge? And then, boom, she just happens to be a Black woman. But that he says, I'm going to find and nominate the first Black woman, means his priorities are, I'm going to window dress this thing because I'm only going to look at Black women. I'm not going to consider anyone else. What an insult to Black women, that they're a special category that needs to get a special bit of consideration, because obviously Joe Biden doesn't think Black women in the law are worthy of being judged on their merit. It's unbelievable that we still just say okay to this stuff. How insulting to that woman who he's going to choose now. Because even if she has merit and she's the best lawyer in the whole of the US, everyone's going to go, she only got the job because she's a Black woman. What a disadvantage to put that poor person at. Don't you think?
Yeah.
So it's weird. It's weird.
But he's ticking boxes, you see. I mean, he did this with Kamala Harris. He says, I'm only going to choose a Black woman to be my vice president. So he does. And guess what? She's a disaster. She's the least popular, even among Democrats, vice president in history. She is a mess. She's unconvincing. She's insincere. And all of that is nothing to do with her color or her gender. Nothing. But you put her in a position where that's all people know about her. So she was unpopular as a senator in California. She couldn't even get into the primaries when she ran for president. Do you remember? She flaked out before she even got to run in her own state. She is a disaster of a politician, regardless of what color agenda she is. And then what does he do? He narrows the field. He's like, I'm only going to choose a black woman. He's doing this again with the Supreme Court. And what happens? Now Kamala Harris gets judged as being shit. How do you think that makes all the black women feel? Like, okay, you're basically giving us lip service. You're treating us like idiots because you want to tick some equity boxes. We see through this, dude. If I were a black woman and I were nominated to the Supreme Court by Joe Biden, I would be, let's just say,
I'd say no, thank you.
Thank you. A little less likely to take this. I'd be like, you know what, Joe? Your track record of choosing people just because of their gender and race is kind of racist and sexist. And it kind of makes me feel like you're not looking at my merits. So you know what? Thanks very much. Even if I was the best lawyer in America, I'm not going to take your job because you've said you're choosing me because of my blackness and my womanness. Not really that keen. Thanks, Joe. Bye-bye. What an idiot. What an old senile dotard. Thank God we know that he was only selected because of his whiteness and his maleness.
Yeah.
Or maybe Joe's got a thing for the sisters. You know, I know white guys once.
Yeah, that's why he's married to the whitest
that
woman.
tick bites.
That's why he's married to the whitest woman in America, Jill
No,
Biden.
that's a cover.
It
Listen,
looks like she's only been a diggy best her whole life long.
No, but you know, there are gay men with the world we come from who had a what you might a heterosexual front. Maybe Joe's got a thing for the sisters. A little extra.
If you find his diary, it says I love squeezers.
Or LaFonda.
Well,
why is his dog named LaFonda all of a sudden?
That's another reason to consider black women a victim group, then, if you ask me. Because if Joe Biden's after you have a problem. Smelling your hair when you're standing at the podium and he creeps up behind you and smells your hair. You know the picture.
Listen, he wouldn't be the first American president. We know everyone's hero Lincoln. We know that once that tick bit, his great grandkids are alive now and they, look more like me than you guys. Let me just say that. So Lincoln got, you know what I mean? So
sinister cabal. Sinister cabals hit the nail on the head with this Joe Biden thing. It's the soft bigotry of low expectations. The people who do this are bigots. They are racists. They are sexists. The real racists and sexists are not coming from those places they always used to come from, where you could see that they just hated black people or women or whatever. It was obvious, right? Mm-hmm. The real racists and sexists now are the ones who talk about racial essentialism. They talk about all those feminist things, but they don't really mean it. They're just putting up a front to make you think that they're an ally. And they're the ones you have to be the most careful of. You know that guy in the
Simps,
friend group?
They call them Simp. Nowadays. On the street, they call him
Simp. The guy in the friend group who always cuddles up to the girl after her boyfriend's been mean to her, and he goes, don't know how. You're so brave to handle that. And he's such a horrible person. What that guy's doing is he's not really being an ally. He's a weakling, and he's intimidated by your boyfriend because he'll only ever talk to you as soon as the boyfriend's left the room. And what he's trying to do is get into your pants, but he can't do it in competition with other men. So he's sneaky about it and pretends to be your friend. Before you know
when you're at your weakest,
he's crept into your life. That's those people. Don't believe they're your friends, please. All right. Enough of that. I've got Nicolene on the line. She shat all over me in an email.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Hey, Nicolene, what's happening?
Hey.
Can we hear her? Nicolene, talk to me. No. See, Nicolene, this is what happens when I put you on with your brain damage. You forget to switch on your microphone, and now it's a problem for me. See what's happening? I can't hear you. Don't know. I'm gonna kick you out.
You might have to rejoin. Yeah.
Click on the link again. All right. Ugh. See, no good deed goes unpunished. What did I tell you?
Gareth? My lord, please.
You've had a real doozy 2 days. Let's see if I think Nicolene's back.
Is she? Let's see if we can do this again. Nicolene, can you hear us now? No, she's whispering into the wind. Oh, Nicolene. All right, I'm gonna see if Simpiwe can connect you, because I've only got this gap in the show. We've got an amazing hour in the next hour for you as well. Nicolene, I'm gonna kick you out. Let Simpiwe try and sort this out for you. We've got Judith Sephuma joining us a little bit later on. And Judith Sephuma is like an institution in South Africa. Mm-hmm. She's such an incredible woman. I love her to pieces. I've had her on the TV show when I was doing that. She's been a regular on cliffcentral.com. She is a household name in South Africa, and she is our guest this morning. We also got Borge coming in a little later with Auto Trader. So all of that's on the way. By the way, data and connectivity, these things are fundamental to a smart city. Why am I bringing that up? Well, utilizing a range of things, including the Internet of Things, high-speed networks, data analysis, all of these things in a smart city can deliver on the promise of a better quality of life for all the citizens. This week, we have an episode of the Waterfall podcast, which is all about Waterfall's connectivity and data efforts. This is something which I'm sure is very close to everyone's heart. If you live in a suburb where you still don't have fiber, you feel like you're in the Stone Age. And Waterfall are so organized. I mean, those guys are just incredible. I've met Villy, who's the estate manager of Waterfall. He's one of the cleverest people. And he's just put together a foolproof plan to make this South Africa's exemplary smart city. You've got to hear about how it works. You can get into it. You can actually discover who the people are, how it all works, what makes Waterfall so great, and what the cities of the future might all want to be like, just judging from the template that they've created here. You have to listen to the Waterfall podcast and tell your friends, and especially tell your friends if they live in Waterfall and they don't know about it, because what's the point of not being able to boast to other people that you live in the best, most high-tech, incredibly streamlined, efficient, smart city in Africa? What's the point if you don't know about it? Listen to the podcast and you can tell everybody. Yeah. All right. Just to give you some background on who Nicolene is, while we're trying to get her back, she has been a friend of the show for many years. She's also someone who suffered a life-threatening head injury many years ago. She's made unbelievable progress. I met her because I work with Headway, which is a charity I've supported since, wow, Leigh-Ann, it must be 20 years I've been involved with them now?
Yeah.
And I've seen so many incredible people come out of there. Occupational therapists who fixed families and helped them deal with some of the most awful things, car accidents, people who've fallen off of high things, and
strokes,
really severe brain damage, strokes. I mean, your mum has suffered from some of these kinds of problems. And let me tell you,
interestingly, when my mum had her stroke, the therapists immediately said to us, "You'll probably want to get involved with Headway." It was just top of mind. Yeah.
And you were like, "Oh, I know those people."
Yeah.
Well, they are incredible, and they could do with all the help. If you have any time and money, and you do want to help them, really, if you want to call yourself a philanthropist, just donate some money to Headway, and then I'll let you. Because that is an organization that does tremendous work, and I've seen over these 20-something years, I've seen unbelievable progress. Some of the people who I thought, that person's never going to come right, they are properly screwed. And you see at the next year's event or whatever it is, because sometimes I see them more than once a year, other times I'll see them once a year, and I'll see this progress happen. And because I haven't been there the whole time, it's extreme and it's like dramatic, and you think, wow, look at this.
But also the brain is so amazing, because it can't heal, but it finds new paths to do the same functions that it was doing before. It's just unbelievable. And watching my mom's recovery, you can actually tell when her brain's creating new paths. She wakes up knowing how to do things that she didn't know before.
It's phenomenal.
It's unbelievable. It's amazing.
And it's spectacular to see, and it gives you such a jolt of hope. Let's get Nicolene on. Hey, Nicolene, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Hello, Gareth.
Perfect. We can hear you too. Don't look so cross. I mean, you on.
I am cross because you're horrible to me.
I'm
Oh,
horrible.
dear.
I'm horrible to everyone. What makes you think
I
you're so
know.
special?
Well, gee, I thought you and I, after all these years.
All right, so listen, you got upset because I had someone else who had a disability on, and you got disability jealousy.
I do. I've got disability jealousy. That's it.
What
But
happened?
it's fun.
Where did this come from? Just give me the background, because I'm not. I must be honest with you. I wasn't really aware of the fact that I had supplanted you in the disability Olympics. What happened?
For years, it was a very big thing for me to go around telling people that I'm your disabled person.
Yeah, you are.
Why,
I tell
thank you.
people.
Yeah.
But,
So, and then I heard you had another disabled person, and I got jelly.
Yeah, well, you're not the only disabled person in the world. Some of them also deserve some attention, not just you.
I'm the queen of the disabled, though.
You decided that yourself. All right, you decided.
I did.
You know what? So this morning, let's have a little ceremony just to remind Nicolene that she's very special to us here on this show, and we're going to crown you as the queen of the disabled this morning. So, would you kneel, please, and I will knight you as Lady Nicolene of the brain damaged. Are you ready?
Okay, it's not damaged, it's injured. Brain injured. You have to get the title right.
Potato. Are you ready? Let's go. I, Gareth Cliff, hereby anoint you, Nicolene Holtzhausen, by the power invested in me as the officer of the disabled community, and as someone who's been appointed by God to look after the disabled and give them the due attention.
And so forth.
You, Nicolene Holtzhausen, you are the queen.
It is I.
Now rise
Thank
as
you.
queen and rule over all the other people with disabilities, whether they like it or
I shall.
not.
So shall I. And forward from this day, I shall forward rise.
I'm busy anointing you. Stop being so rude.
Sorry.
All right, listen, honey, we love you. And
are
you still checking in with all the people at Headway?
Yes, I am. Thank God they're still going through COVID. I had a chat to Bianca last night just to get up to speed with everything that's happening. Mm-hmm. Headway is doing a lot of things online at the moment. They've now renamed the activity program to Headway Gauteng's Community Reintegration Program.
Okay.
Which the name says it all, almost. And together with the Headway Sondela program, they focus on socialism and connection.
Socialism? You mean, no, not socialism. I'm sure it's not socialism.
Yes.
Because if it's socialism, I'm out of there. If Headway are going socialist, I'm done. I'll wash my hands. That's the one thing I wouldn't brook.
No, you know what I mean, like re-socializing people and
re-socializing.
Yes, sorry. So yeah, thank God Headway's still going and helping people. Mm-hmm. They mainly work from the Hyde Park branch, but they are still able to go to Soweto between 2 to 3 times a week.
Yeah. Listen, I would advise anybody, you can look them up as Headway Gauteng on social media, and Nicolene, they can do with all the help they can get. It's always good to have you on the show. There are some people who are arguing that you should not be. Carl says Nicolene is a princess at best. I know others who are more worthy to be queen.
Marco and who says Carl?
Look, don't get personal about it now. Marco says physical disability and mental disability are not the same. Just saying, of course, Marco is physically disabled, so he says.
Yes. They do overlap, though. If you have a brain injury, it very much can affect the way your body moves. So
yes, definitely.
I'm sorry, Leigh-Ann. Nobody asked you because you're not mentally or physically disabled. So shut up.
Hello, Leigh-Ann.
Nicolene, I'm talking from experience, Gareth.
Yes, she is. Can I just tell you something on that note? My brain sent the wrong message to my elbow, and now my elbow is stuck. My arm can't go straight.
That is a very peculiar and quite unique kind
Very
of disability.
specific.
Is there any marketing angle we can take with this particular problem that you're suffering from at the moment? Like, is there
Your elbow staccitis?
Is there a thing like maybe you can like work at a bar as one of those people whose elbow is always on the counter ordering more drinks, that kind of thing? Is there some sort of job we can do with the right angle that your elbow is now at could be marketed as some kind of like a set square for builders?
Well, no. Well, I've become very good at cooking. You know, like smashing things and things like that. So I've gained a lot of strength in the arm. So that's quite a good idea.
I'm always happy to have you on the show. Don't be jealous of the other disabled people. You are always going to be special, and I don't know no more of this nonsense from you. All right?
Okay, Gareth.
Good. Thank you.
Can I tell you a couple of things?
No, we have to go. We're out of time.
Oh, boo. Okay, well, I miss you guys. You must be well.
Mwah.
Okay.
Be good.
Bye. Thanks for having me. Bye.
Bye-bye. Oh, Jesus. All right. It is 7:00, and it is time for us to take a little break. We'll be back in a little bit with Judith Sephuma, among other things. This is cliffcentral.com on a Friday morning. Woohoo! Here's the full name. All right, sit down. Make sure you're sitting down. Make sure you got a cup of tea.
Pablo Diego Jose Francisco de Maria de los Remedios Cipriano de la Santissima.
Well, none of these were classically beautiful women. This woman, not beautiful by today's standards. He painted many pictures of her. She was also his muse. Many of these women were. He clearly had a bit of a sadistic streak.
The story was he'd walk around with a pistol that he loaded with blanks, and then he would use it to fire people that he didn't like.
Some people want to forget all about the 80s. Some people would prefer not to remember the hairstyles, the movies, the fashion, those pants we used to wear. God, those pants we used to wear. Some people would prefer to never hear an 80s song ever again. We are not those people. That 80s show. Music, movies, obscure references, and so many unchecked factoids. Fridays, 9 a.m. on Cliff Central. People say we're stuck in the 80s. Like it's a bad thing.
Yo, I put it like wow. This that sound. These oaks don't work hard like me. I hope they know by now.
It's Friday morning. We are back. We are live. I'm not on screen. There we are. Now I am. This is cliffcentral.com. We got Bulelo on the show. We got Leigh-Ann. I just heard that the promo for that 80s show, which of course is just Dory and Paolo and Barrett. And they've always got some like has-been from the 80s on the show as well. They tend to ask them all kinds of like 80s specific questions, you know, like what kind of neon color were your tube socks in the 80s? That kind of thing. It's very specific, that show. But I did see something funny yesterday about the 80s. because I lived through them, believe it or not. In fact, I thought the 80s were very cool. I still have 80s music playing all over my world. So I'm a fan of the 80s show. But look at this. This is how people unfriended people in the 80s. They'd actually have to tear them out of photographs.
If I look at my yearbook at school, I've crossed out the people who I didn't like.
Really? That's
Yes.
hilarious. Oh my God. Your school yearbook and you crossed them out. You crossed them out. Oh, that's
I
so
crossed
funny.
them out with a pen, cancelled them.
That's funny. Yeah, that was
the
like
cancel culture.
Yeah, except nobody knew except you because you didn't get to do it publicly. It was like in your photo book, but you're the only one who's ever seen since then.
Yes.
Anyway,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
By the way, Dory from that 80s show is the person you want on your because I know you like the quizzes, Gareth. You want Dory or Paolo on your team for the music stuff. Although you do know a bit about music, but the culture stuff, they know a lot. Like Paolo, who I work closely with on the show and other stuff, that guy's an encyclopedia. Every now and then I'm like, what? Like I know a lot about movies, but whoa, that's incredible.
No, absolutely. And they have this arcane knowledge, especially about that period of their lives, because clearly they were all turbo nerds. I mean, in some ways you could say all three of them still are. And they just loved the 80s. They immersed themselves in 80s culture. And that's why the show is fun to listen to. We were talking about quizzes last week with Temba, remember? And he was telling us how he used to host those quizzes. I still think it would be quite a fun idea, Mbulelo, if we go and join one of these pub quizzes, we win, and then we leave.
Just
go in.
drop the mic.
Go in.
Wipe your feet on the door mat as you leave.
Yeah. You win, and then as soon as you won, you just leave, and you never go back. That's the way to do it.
Maybe you should go around to a couple of places and just like, like a serial killer does.
Here's Barrett. He says, we have some exciting interviews coming up. Stay tuned. That's on the 80s show.
Like and subscribe.
You better get them before they die. Those old 80s stars. You got only a limited amount of time.
It's true.
Carl says in the 80s, he used to cross out the people who died in his school yearbook.
Oh, wow.
I did that.
Well, one of the people I crossed out has died. And I hope it wasn't some voodoo shit.
Did you cross them out before they died, obviously?
Yes.
Maybe you've got powers. I mean, I used to have on my desk, it was such a weird thing. I mean, maybe I've also got brain damage. I must ask Nicolene if I can go and join them for a session. But I used to have these little portraits of all the most terrible leaders in the world, like Kim Jong-il before Kim Jong-un took over, Saddam, Gaddafi, Gordon Brown. I had all those. And as they were ousted from power or murdered or killed or they whatever, and then I'd cross them off. So I've got a whole bunch of little like passport-sized pictures. There are about 10 of them with crosses on them. And as those people died, and I'd keep them on my desk. It's like, yes, the world's getting better, one person at a time. It's great. Anyway. No, Sanele says, I honestly could have done without that Nicorette lady this morning. And don't be rude, Sanele, It's not Nicorette, it's Nicolene.
No, okay. I think, does she smoke? She's got a very coarse voice. She should do voiceovers.
I don't know. Leigh-Ann smokes.
Awesome
she doesn't have a coarse voice, do you?
I can if you want me to. This is how I usually talk. I just change it for the show. I call my cats. I'm like, pss, pss, come here, kitty.
Oh, God.
When people walk past, I go, hey, shut up. You're making a noise.
All right, stop.
Oh, good Lord.
Collaborate and listen. No, I'm kidding. So, all right. Here is a story that I think you might be interested in. I know you know who Neil Young is?
Yes, I know the story.
No.
Okay, so Neil Young had a little temper tantrum this week because he doesn't like Joe Rogan and he doesn't like Joe Rogan's politics. So he had a proper strop this week and decided, I'm not going to be on Spotify if Joe Rogan is on Spotify. kind of thinking that maybe
he had a Stropify.
Yeah. He probably thought Spotify would go, oh, well, we don't want to upset the great Neil Young, so we'll cancel Joe Rogan. But what Neil Young doesn't realize is, first of all, Joe Rogan has millions and millions of people who tune in every episode of that podcast. And maybe there are 25 people who still listen to Neil Young because he's old. I mean, he's really old. He looks like the kind of grumpy old man who would say, get off my lawn, you kids. You know, that kind of guy. He's originally Canadian. And I'm trying to think of what his most famous song is. It's probably
very vanilla.
What's the most famous song he had?
Oh, that's Canadian for you. Vanilla, that's Canadian.
Yeah, but he was also in Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young, but he was like the last mentioned of that quartet. But I think he's won 2 or 3 Grammys, but he's like a country-ish, folksy-ish, rockish kind of guy. He was named number 34 by Rolling Stone on their 100 greatest musical artists. So he's not a total nobody. I mean,
I don't know if these ring a bell. Heart of Gold, Harvest Moon.
Oh, Harvest Moon, I know. Yeah, it's not a great song though.
Song of the Seasons, Crazy Horse, Down by the River.
Crazy Horse, but none of these are like instant. Like, oh, I've got to listen to that again. Anyway, he doesn't even own his catalog anymore, by the way. So he sold his whole catalog. So he doesn't even have the right to tell Spotify what to do with it. It belongs to someone else.
So basically it was because Joe Rogan was spreading misinformation on his podcast about
he wasn't.
Coronavirus, anti-vax stuff.
He wasn't. That's not right. I've been called an anti-vaxxer and I had the fucking thing twice.
That's what the news stories are saying.
It's not true. It's just not true. And someone like Neil Young would have just swallowed that as truth because he's a moron. He believes whatever the mainstream media and government tell him. Joe Rogan is not an anti-vaxxer. You're an anti-vaxxer if you yourself refuse to get vaccinated, but you also tell other people not to get vaccinated. And it's not just about the coronavirus vaccines, by the way. I think it's a stupid position. I'm sure that Rogan has some other point of view on it. Maybe deep down inside he is, but who the hell knows? He's allowed to have an opinion. And Neil Young wants to get him. Here's Neil Young. Look at him.
So old man. Basically cancelled himself.
Old man shouting at the clouds. Yeah, so what happened was Spotify decided, okay, you know what, Neil Young? We will cancel you, not Joe Rogan. So they've cancelled him off of Spotify. So
the problem is Daniel Ek just gave Joe Rogan $500 million. He's not canceling that situation.
Yeah, exactly.
Daniel Ek's worth $20 billion. He's nobody's friend. That's not what's happening.
As someone said on social media yesterday, this is where you see the generational split, right? Everyone under 30 is like, who the hell's Neil Young? Everyone from 31 to 60 is like, I didn't realize Neil Young was still alive. Everyone 61 plus is like, what is Spotify?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And so who's funny. Joe Rogan?
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, I don't know. I mean, there's so much. No, every time you go away, Steph says that's Paul Young. Every time you go away. You know that one.
Good song.
You take
that's a banger.
That's better than any Neil Young song. That's Paul Young. And he also had Living in the Love of the Common People, Smiles from the Heart of the Family Man. Remember, that was
that's a good two great songs.
Yeah, good songs. Huh. Not Neil Young. Neil Young's got shitty songs by comparison, really. Anyway, he is a United States citizen, but he takes dual citizenship, and he lives in California. And you see what he looks like. He's a grumpy looking old man. I wouldn't want to get on the wrong side of Neil Young, but clearly Rogan doesn't care, and neither does Spotify. Anyway, we have a real artist of enormous sophistication and someone who I absolutely love joining us this morning. Judith Sephuma is a South African multi-award-winning artist of international standard. She's been dubbed the Queen of Afro Jazz. She is an acclaimed, prolific, and versatile singer with multiple platinum status-selling albums. Her angelic, soft, sultry, and melodic voice has continued to dominate radio and our own music for close to 2 decades. And I'm just delighted to have her here this morning. Hello, Mum Judith Sephuma. How are you?
Good morning, Gareth. I'm fine. How are you? I'm smiling.
You should be smiling. Look, first of all, are you taking some kind of secret potion to keep you looking young? You have not changed in 15 years. You still look
Oh my,
angelic. What's going on there? Tell us the
you know
truth.
what? The truth is, I laugh a lot. I smile a lot. Listen, and I train a lot. I stopped eating meat a couple of years ago, 5 years this year, actually, and I'm so excited.
Oh,
And it just happened naturally. I think I just surround myself with everything positive whenever I can. And it's so difficult, but I do it. I force that out of me. So
that's
it's
amazing.
just those things. Yeah.
Listen, I have to ask this question because this is how every conversation in the whole of South Africa starts, or in the whole world, right? Actually now starts.
Yeah.
How did you do through Corona? Because obviously a lot of people in the entertainment business, a lot of performers had a very tough time. You couldn't reach your audiences in the conventional ways. I mean, you always fill up a hall, a stadium,
Yeah.
a room,
Yeah.
wherever you are. You're used to dealing with audiences. It must have been very hard over these 2 years to not be in front of an audience.
It was painful, firstly, and it was, you know, sometimes very impossible to even understand because we're used to it, and when it didn't happen we would be asking questions like, but why? And you know what, but now I'm well known, somebody should be thinking of me, why can't they just call me for something? And then when you eventually realize that this affected everybody and everybody, that's when you kind of like try to get it in. But it became difficult, when you start seeing your bank account going lesser
Oh my
and less,
God.
and you've got
Oh, wow.
responsibilities, and there's nothing coming in, but you're spending so much out. I'm just grateful that in that whole entire time, never once did I get sick, not even flu, nothing whatsoever. And I mean, there's a huge park where I used to run every morning. Every morning I'd go in there and run, and with my partner we would just train, and people started joining us, and we kept our distancing, and it was just, we made it a lifestyle, but it was really really, really difficult being an artist. It still is. It really still is, Gareth, because right now you're thinking, okay, we're on level 1, but level 1 is actually feeling like level 0, but nothing is happening. So it's really
what is the
difficult.
rule? What is the rule at the moment? I mean, can you do concerts yet? Can you do performances? Have you done any since lockdown started?
Yes, we're even sometimes afraid to even post. It's like, if you're posting that you're doing a show here and there, it's like you're offending other people. It's become like that, For me, I don't know about other people. It's like they're saying you're eating, and what are we? Why are we not getting it? But
Oh boy.
yeah, it's become so difficult, but we can perform 2,000 people outdoors, and I
Okay.
think 1,000 indoors now.
That's
But
good.
yeah, it's really good. I'm planning my own shows now. I've got actually a stream of shows. I'm busy with posters and everything right now.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's actually so exciting. I'm doing a legendary concert on the 25th and the 26th of March at Emperor's Palace, and I'm going to be honoring Slylo Salute, who is the
Oh,
man
of
behind A
course.
Cry, Smiling and Dance. Yes.
What a great
So I
man.
decided to go out that way and go really big. I'm going big. We're doing this ourselves. And it's not only the only concert I'm busy talking to them about. The 17th of April, I'm going to do a concert with an orchestra. And I'm in like full production here at home. And we cannot sit and wait for promoters to call us,
Sure.
Yeah, and I have also another event that's happening in Katlehong on the, I'm going to post some of I've got to post.
No, you
People
have
need
to.
to go. Yeah,
Yeah,
I've got to post now. People need to go out there. They need to have fun. We got to force this life back, It's really difficult, but we got to pull it back in. And from
absolutely.
promoters to see that we're here and we want to do this,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that music is a massive part of everyone's life, and if we don't
Yeah.
actually see live music, because
Yeah.
let's face it, a lot of people have been listening to music over lockdown because we're lucky, we've got these devices now, we've got headphones. Most of us spend so much time at home, we've probably been able to listen to more music than ever. But there's something special about being in the room with that performer, and
Yeah.
I have to ask you too, because you've been, mostly in your career, you've been known for being the jazz singer, but you also have done quite a lot of gospel, and there was a change that happened there.
Yeah.
What was it that made you change and decide to do gospel as well?
You know what? It was a natural thing for me. I don't even remember what forced me or made me turn into gospel. And I guess the love of God my entire life. I remember my mom used to whip us so hard and say, "Go to church, go to church," and I never liked going to church, I promise you, but it was forced down on me. And I would find some garage to while away time and have a magwinya. And when church time was over, I'd go home and pretend like I was at church. But my mom would figure it out eventually that I wasn't going to church. So she started asking me, what did they talk about? And when I couldn't tell, she sent me to Sunday school, so it became even harder, so so it just happened that I started singing gospel. And Gareth, when I started singing gospel, it felt natural, it felt so good. I felt so fulfilled. And then I realized that a lot of people were being changed, their lives were being changed and impacted by the gospel. And remember, the gospel is actually basically we're telling a story about our life. We go through so much in life, and I believe the important part about this life is when we can share the conquering part of it, when we have come out of situations. And I mean, there's so many stories we are gonna tell. When COVID is gonna leave us eventually. Like we're like, okay, go away. It's gonna leave us, and we're gonna go back to at least please 70% of what we used to have. And at that time, we will have so many amazing testimonies to share and still change lives and impact lives.
You mentioned like growing up and your mom and everything, because you were actually born in Seshego, right? Which is in Limpopo. Now, are you the most famous person from Seshego, or is Julius Malema trying to steal that from you? Because he's from the same hood. Did you know any of Julius's family? Did you know any of his family?
Sorry, is that for me?
Yeah. Did you know any of Julius's family growing up in Seshego?
No, yes. I've met his mom before. I think at the wedding. I know his mom. I know I sang at his wedding. I mean,
nice. Well, your neighbors. Why not?
Actually, I know where he lives. At home.
Oh wow, that's pretty amazing. I mean, listen. Do you often go back? Do you go back to your old home, and you're still in that community some of the time?
What makes me sad right now is that I have not felt I needed to go back there. When my mom died, my mom passed on maybe about 3-4 years ago, and I just felt like she just left with everything, for me regarding that place. So I've been angry at that. I realized last year, actually. I think I'm fine now, and I possibly will go sometime soon. But I've been so mad at, at her leaving that I kind of like disowned it a little bit. And I'm saying this because I know someone possibly felt like that as well at some point of their lives when they lost a loved one. But Seshego has always been my home. It will always be my home. And I want to do more, in the next couple of years. I want to change something. And we used to be very involved with our high school. I want to go back to that life.
Right. Well, listen, I mean, all of us want to kind of give back at some point, and it's just a question of when. And I think at this point, everybody's just trying to make it out of this last wacky 2 years and try to rebuild things. But I think it would probably be nice for the people there to kind of see more of you. I mean, they must be very proud to call you one of their community.
They really are. And also to do, not just to perform, just to walk around the streets. I think sometimes it becomes a blessing just to go walk around where you grew up, where your mom was, where your grandfather, your grandmothers were. Those are ancestors, and we love them. They were a part of our lives. So I think it's a blessing in a way to just go and just step right where you grew up.
Michael says, I just love your voice and music, Judith. And V says, A Cry, a Smile, a Dance is one of my favorite songs. It is one of my favorite songs too. It's on my Apple playlist. I was looking earlier to kind of, it's just, man, that kind of song is just, it first of all reminds me of home. So if I'm not at home, I listen to it. But it also, when it comes on, it's just calms me the hell down. It's like Such a beautiful song. So you say that Selailo Selota wrote that?
Yes. We co-wrote that song, and actually the whole album of A Cry, a Smile, and a Dance. We worked on it together at a time when I was a mess, but he carried that album. He produced it. He carried me through the whole thing because we had at the time a 4-month-old baby, and we were at a point of going apart. And I was just hoping that it doesn't happen, and the tears and the baby, the postnatal depression kicked in so bad, so bad, Gareth, that I did not even want that baby, but until Richard Mitchell, who just passed on, who was the engineer at the time, he grabbed that child and he said to me, Judith, because the baby was crying a lot, and I was just looking at the baby. I was like, you know what, this child must just keep quiet. Somebody must just take this baby. Postnatal depression is very, very bad. You can actually abandon a child because you're looking at that baby crying. The sound of the baby makes you just, go crazy. So he took the baby, and when he held the baby in his arms, she kept quiet. And at that point, I think I was recording A Cry, a Smile, and a Dance. And he sent me into the booth, and he says, go sing. And he held her, gave her a bottle, and she fell asleep in his arms. And I realized at that point that I need to start being a mom. I need to forget about myself. I need to step out of whatever it is that I'm thinking of. And I basically slapped myself over and over again. And I took my baby. I cried so much, and I started breastfeeding the baby. I didn't even want, when the baby would latch, I would cry, be like, oh, it would be so bad. But I started feeding that baby. It was still painful. It didn't happen. The healing did not happen immediately. But you know what? I changed my mindset because I was like, this is my third child. I can do this. I can do this. It can't be this bad. And the album came out. Oh, when I heard that song on the radio for the first time, I appreciated life. And that was my hope for everyone who would listen to that song, that they would have, hope.
Maybe that's why it's such a powerful song. I mean, there's that story they tell about Berry Gordy who made Michael Jackson cry. He made him sing Man in the Mirror so many times that he eventually broke down. That's why you hear that opening line, he's gonna make a change for once in my life. But his voice breaks because he's done it.
And the passion of it.
100 times. And Berry's trying to break him so that it sounds like he's broken in the song. And when you tell me that story about how you were going through this postnatal depression, I want to listen to it again now and see if I can hear that emotion in your voice, because that stuff makes you can't necessarily pick it up unless you hear the story like you told us now.
Yes.
But once you hear it, you can't unhear it, huh?
And that's why I'm doing this concert. I'll be performing with him on the 26th of March. That's why I'm doing it, because I want to tell the story better. And I want people to finally hear it and tap into it, because during this COVID time, A Cry, a Smile, and a Dance, for me personally, it was that song of hope, that we're not going to stay in this situation forever. We're going to come out of it. But we have to decide. You got to look at this situation as what it is and not walk around carrying COVID around. Know when to take care of yourself. Know that it is there. Educate others constantly about it. Let's not be ignorant about what it is, and take proper precautions, but still be able to still grow our businesses with the very same difficult situation we're in. It seems difficult, but I believe that we can change. We can change a lot right now.
I do want to move on to something else that is one of my favorite things to ask artists, and you've worked with so many incredible names, and of course they've also said that they've loved working with you. But we're talking about big names in jazz music and in all kinds of music. B.B. Winans, we're talking Letta Adams, we're talking about Jonathan Butler, Al Jarreau, Chaka Khan. I mean, these are some of the biggest names in the world, and you've shared a stage with them. Do you have any particular memories? Are any of these people still in contact with you?
On Instagram, the way I harass them, I just tag them. I'm like, actually, later. So Mizi posted a video of me. Is it him? No. He booked me for an event where I sang Window of Hope,
That's
Shine
Aletta Adams,
Light.
right? Yeah.
Yes. And I
What
killed
a
that
great
song.
song. Oh, it's a
Like,
great
I
song.
killed it, girl. I killed that song. And, it was
Mm.
such a beautiful moment. And someone actually sent me a clip of that video, and I posted it on Instagram, and I tagged Oleta Adams.
Yeah.
Oh my God, she responded, and she remembered every show that we actually did, and she talked about it on Instagram and said some of the most amazing things. BB Winans does the same as well. Michael Bolton does the same thing as well, and also Kirk Whalum. Kirk Whalum, I shared a cry. Oh my goodness, I shared a cry, a smile, and a dance with Kirk Whalum, because remember, I have that recording with Kenny G, where Kenny G re-recorded ES. So when Kirk Whalum just actually jumped on stage in Bloemfontein. We're performing 2 years back, and he played that song with me. I was like, is this happening to me or what? Every time when those moments happen, doesn't matter how old I am, it feels like I'm just beginning. It feels like a wow moment. So I do keep in contact with them in that way. And for me, that's good enough. That's absolutely
That's tremendous. I mean, most people, perform once and you'll never hear from them again or see them again, and that's it. It's just a memory. But the fact that now you can get on Instagram and do this, that's beautiful. I love that window of hope. I want to hear you sing that. Oh my God.
Oh my God, it's beautiful.
Won't you perform that at your next concert? And I swear I'll book like the whole front row. That's just amazing.
I'm going to, just for that, what, I want ticket sales. I'm actually going to get you. I'm going to tag you and say, here it is. It's on the list. Please come through.
I'm not joking. I love that song. I used to.
Yeah.
That's the first I ever heard of Oleta Adams. And then I went on to kind of look at the rest of her catalog, and she's unbelievable. But there's one person I wanted to talk to you about, because I interviewed her. And when I interviewed her, she was an absolute mess. Randy Crawford. Do you remember when she came to South Africa?
Yes.
So she was so drunk when I interviewed her. And
really?
Drunk and high, maybe. But she was not paying attention to anything. She was like, hello, this is Randy Crawford. And it was early in the morning. It was a mess, a disaster. I eventually had to cut her off. I mean, I cut off Randy Crawford. I still can't believe it, because I'm a huge fan. I mean, Randy Crawford, you've got Almaz. You remember Almaz? What a great song. And One Day I'll Fly Away.
Yes,
right?
all the songs I've sung, I love them.
Such great songs. And she arrived on my show. I think it was by phone. But we called her up at her hotel. It was all arranged and everything, so she knew it was going to happen. And she was a basket case. Like, I couldn't get a single straight answer out of her. She sounded like she was tripping or something.
Oh my God, that's so sad.
No, it was very entertaining.
I love her.
But it did kind of shatter the this perfect, because when you think of great singers like you, we always imagine you at your best.
Yeah.
Do you remember? Do you remember about Randy?
Yeah, someone once said to me that always remember that the last time when someone sees you is how they will remember you, especially if you're a celebrity. So it's important how we carry ourselves, and certain things we need to know that we cannot, do. But remember, people will look up to us, but it doesn't mean we should not live our lives. But that one I won't do. Please smack me. Oh.
No, listen, I mean, she's earned the right to be a rebel. I mean, that's another thing that you've got to accept, is that some people have been around a while. They've earned their stripes, and they're not going to conform.
And they're tired, man.
And plus, in the world of Randy Crawford, who the hell am I? She didn't care who I was. It was like she had a good night the night before. She was partying with her people. Who knows?
And she continued, yeah.
So you've also got your own independent record label, right? La Lomba Music.
Yes.
So do you have other artists, or is it just for you?
Oh no, it's so costly. I don't want to mess anybody else's career or life. I tried it and it didn't work for me. It's a lot of sacrifice. I now understand why Sony Music, BMG, Gallo, they do what they do. You need to have a lot of money to be able to push that. So I'm not even as Judith Sephuma, where I would love to be regarding recording. So I'm still trying to figure this whole thing out. And that is why we're doing our own live performances, because I'm like, okay, let me get to a point where I can perfect this craft first before I can sign anyone on. So at the moment, it's just me taking care of my business. I'm managed by About Entertainment, Lisa Loeb, who's absolutely amazing.
Oh, wow.
Hard, but amazing. That's one woman you want to manage you. But Laluba Music is there. It's my recording label. And I don't know when I'm recording. I'm supposed to be recording now, but I'm into live shows. I just think live shows is what we need right now.
Right. Absolutely. So you said you're doing this one at Emperor's.
Yes.
Is that starting shortly? And then are you going to do any other concerts? Because people are obviously desperate to get out and be entertained. We've spent enough time indoors.
Absolutely. I believe that I should have CompuTicket open on the 1st of February. The poster will be out on my social media. I'm going to make sure that it's all over. And there's 3 shows I can definitely confirm, 26th of March and the 17th of April. The 17th of April is actually an Easter Sunday. So we're going to do like an orchestra in the garden with Judith Sephuma and friends. Beautiful. All of that will be on our page, my page and Emperor's Palace page. And we'll push it as much as we can. And obviously we'll call you for an interview as well.
That sounds like such a great way to spend a day. So it'll be a daytime thing in the garden.
Yes, in the garden. Picnic. So people can bring their picnic baskets and you can spend the night there if you want with your loved one or loved ones. And it's just going to be amazing. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Actually, it's going to be like afternoon into the sundowner. So like a sundowner kind of vibe. Really beautiful.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it a lot. Yeah. Well, listen, I'm sure Mbulelo and Leigh-Ann have got some questions for you. We've got a couple of minutes left. What do you guys want to throw in here? You've got the great Judith Sephuma joining us this morning. If you've just come in on the show, if you just joined the stream on YouTube, you will recognize that famous and beautiful face, and you will recognize that she has not aged a single second, and that she's still churning out the music, and she's got shows on. So line up and get your tickets ASAP.
Yeah, I just think it's amazing that you're able to, like Gareth said, share the story behind a particular time in your life.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've already Googled the song, and I'm like, I wish this time would end and it would be 8:00 because I just want to listen to it again.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you for that. And
Absolutely.
I mean, yeah, it must be. Is it your daughter who you were talking about from years ago?
Yes, she's now 19, and she's grown up to be such a beautiful, independent young lady. She's into fashion. She's doing fashion. She's at fashion school now.
Wow.
She just passed with 2 distinctions.
Judith, how does she feel about the song? Because
yeah, that's what I want to say.
It was a time where she was crying a lot. So how does she feel about that?
You know what? She's so smart that she wrote me a song. There's a song called "Power of Dreams" on the Power of Dreams album. It's actually my last album that I released about 4 years ago. I recorded it in the States. And the song, please listen to it. It's called Power of Dreams. That album, that song, she wrote exactly as the song is, the melody, the rhythm, everything. And I stole it because she's not getting royalties from that because she needs to pay me back for the school fees for all those years.
and for making you cry 19
for
years
making
ago.
me cry. Yeah. And yeah, she's absolutely smart and beautiful with words. And she's the one who she's now on holiday. They're starting in February. She's on term break. So she's the one who's busy with homeworks at home. She's a disciplinarian. She's like, what did I tell you? What is it? What does subtract mean? What does addition mean? So I listen to that and I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to be taught by her. So she's amazing. She's grown up to be a beautiful young lady.
That's absolutely beautiful. I love these backstories. You only really get to hear them from the artists themselves, because otherwise they're these myths, these legends that people talk about, and you're never really sure if they're true or not. So I'm glad we got to document that here.
Absolutely. Me too.
Well, Mbulelo, anything from your side?
No, I was just going to ask about the skin routine, but that was covered
Oh.
early on. Yeah, it's fantastic. Porcelain skin. Tons.
Bulelo, you know what, Judith? Bulelo also likes to run, and
Oh wow, yes.
yeah, you said you were keeping fit during lockdown, and you train every day and all the rest of it, and that's massively important, right?
It is. It is
Keeping a
crucial,
routine.
actually, because I train twice a day until now. I'm so exhausted. My muscles are so sore, but I do 2 hours in the morning and 2 hours in the evening. The only day that I rest is a Sunday. And sometimes on a Friday afternoon, I don't go to gym. So, but otherwise, that's my lifestyle. I just decided that because we are not busy with any shows, let me get this body going, because, remember, when I'm standing up there, I want to make sure that when I'm in that hill, the pose inspires you. The dress inspires you, the hair inspires you. We are all about, it's an entire package, or else forget it. So there's no way I'm gonna I want to be able to stand on stage for 2 hours and not look like I'm exhausted. So I do run as well, and I love running. It's the one.
Well, you might just run past Mbulelo at some point, and make sure not to trip him, annoying as he may be. Thank you very much, Judith. It's so nice to have you on, and it's so great to see you and hear you again, and it makes me happy, and I can't wait to see you in concert.
Thank you
lots
so
of
much.
love. Yeah,
Thank you, Gareth. Thank you. Enjoy yourself, guys. And
thank you. Keep doing this great work you do. Judith Sephuma, everybody. Isn't that great? Oh, she's just the best.
Awesome.
I mean, listen, I will admit from the beginning that I am a jazz Philistine, right? The only person who's ever attempted to teach me about jazz music is Thabo Modisane, who used to be our producer at 5FM, right? And Thabo gave me... producer. That's right. Thabo Modisane, that's the one. Anyway, Thabo gave me a Miles Davis kind of blue album, and he gave me Grover Washington Jr. Like over a period of about 5 years, he gave me some really good... Thelonious Monk was also in there. Gave me some really good jazz music to listen to, but like the classics, the stuff that all jazz pays tribute to, and I started to develop something of an appreciation of it. But I will tell you this, I'm still a long way off being the aficionado that many jazz fans are. And there's something about songs, there's certain songs that just cross over enough into the world I do know in music that I can access that little bit of jazz. I can just catch glimpses of what it must be like for the real fans. And I also think jazz is something you grow into. I don't think young people ever really completely understand jazz, because a lot of it sounds like it's very self-absorbed, and you got those pianists who think, 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 ding, 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 ding.
Long solos.
Oh my God. I mean, I go when I hear that stuff. But really, if you listen to Grover Washington Jr., that stuff is magic. Ooh, that's power. And Judith, and that song, especially that song, Cry, Smile, and Dance, which is just beautiful. That opening line is, smile away, my love, don't despair. The world, beautiful, beautiful song. Absolutely magic.
What a lovely rendition, Gareth.
Sorry, I'm shitty at singing, and I can't remember exactly. Hang on, I know the words. Fly away, my heart, don't despair. That's it. The world is full of joy. Beautiful, beautiful song. Go and listen to it as soon as the show's over. And make sure you go to her first concert when you get the chance to do that. Cabello says, why haven't you had Thabo Modisane on the show? Thabo is so bizarre. Like, we're on this group together, which Damon left in a huff, but we haven't actually posted anything there for a while. So it's Sias and me and Leigh-Ann and Thabo.
Mabel. And
Mabali. Yeah. And we still like talk on there. Suddenly Mabali woke up somewhere last year and just started like spamming all of us with tons of messages. And then she went quiet again. She's definitely, there's something that checks off a rocker. But Thabo will also, he'll come in, suddenly say something and then leave. And I can kind of hear him laughing, but he's good. I mean, I do get updates. He's still at the SABC. He's producing shows there. And his kids are just so big now. I remember when Khositsile and Masichaba were just little kids. Like, I remember when they were born. And now I think Khosi's like, he's at varsity. And Masichaba's finishing high
Remember,
school.
we went to his school, and it was a primary school at that.
He says, it makes me feel old, man.
Oh, Lord.
But I am old. I'm old like Neil Young.
I was going to say, you're going to cancel Joe Rogan. You both sound like you're going down memory lane. Like,
shut up, Mbulelo. Pihleng says, finally, a guest Mbulelo approves of. Maybe they should go on that date in Simpiwe's hood. Well, she's already taken it.
Yeah, and also she's Judith.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
What does Mbulelo bring to that party? I mean,
you have to be honest sometimes. Like, I like so I've got a thing in life. 10 should date 10s, 9 should date 9s. Because the gap between what you are creates too much tension. Hey, man, Judith Sephuma pitching up with me. Like, who's that? No. Don't worry about him. That's how it goes. Yeah.
Well, I may be. Pihleng says, Gareth, idols are looking for new judges. Go and audition again. I never auditioned as a judge. I hate to toot my own horn here, but they asked me to come onto the show, so I never auditioned. And no, I'm not interested in rehashing old territory. There's nothing about it I miss. I think I may see Randall today, because we've been messaging each other for the last couple of weeks, trying to arrange something, because I haven't seen him in ages. And I see he's also leaving Idols, and Unati, obviously. They're both off the show. So I think we need to do a little reunion. Maybe we'll get them on the show here and catch up with both. But I will let you know how that goes. Certainly, I'm not missing television at all. You know that. Go for it, Gareth, says Sanele. We'll get Black Twitter to threaten to cancel them if they don't hire you back. Please don't get Black Twitter to do anything. Don't think you can control Black Twitter. It's a disaster. Sanele also says, and I love this, I love Mum Judith's honesty on the record label stuff. Elegant and gracious lady. The entertainment industry is filled with condescending, pretentious pricks who never reveal those unglamorous details. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she was so straightforward. I do love a story attached to a song. Hey, yeah. Now that I listen to every time,
it's a gift to receive something like that,
and that's just it's gold. Like, now every time I hear that song, I'm going to picture her in the studio crying at an emotional turning point, the baby crying, all of this tension. The sound engineer says, just give me the baby and I'll put her to sleep. You go and sing. I want to hear if I can hear any of it in her voice now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Love that.
Verisimilitude deepens all relationships. If you are able to be...
Who's that?
Verisimilitude. So it's like the deepest honesty you can have. It's like the being really true. And when she was telling that story, I thought, holy shit.
You mean like being raw?
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, you've just seen the difference between a private and a public school education. Verisimilitude and Leigh-Ann going, raw, eh?
It's like being raw.
Guess who went to the public school? Guess who went to the private school?
Let's not do that.
All right. Let me quickly tell you about this. Don't forget about a brand new show that we're on with today at 9 a.m. It's called Leadership Books Unpacked. If you didn't get the first episode, you can go and find that. Manda Tsifularo and Nqobile Ngobo have taken some of the best business and leadership books that you've always wanted to read, but you just didn't have time for, and they unpack them, extracting actionable insights to advance your leadership skills. And you don't want to miss that.
Do you know what else Nqobile Ngobo's taken?
Sorry, I said Nqobile, but it's Nqobile Ngobo.
Oh, Nqobile Ngobo. You know what else they've taken? Mm-hmm. Only the best name ever.
Yes, that's true. No, that is true. So Leadership Books Unpacked today. And you don't want to miss that, as well as the Waterfall podcast I told you about earlier, and a bunch of other good ones. It is time for Borge. Yes, here is George Mienie, everybody. Hey, Borge, what's happening?
Hey, Gareth and team. Very good, and you?
You're back in the office, I see.
Well, yes, I'm back in the office because we're having our, businesses go through, iterations of their path into the future. And at the moment, I've got my entire senior executive team here. They're not in the room with me now, but and we've been spending the week talking about the future of Auto Trader. So that's why I'm in the office.
I'm very happy to hear that, though, because I think more and more of us are going back to the office, and I think it's really good. I was at Cliff Central yesterday. Mbulelo stayed there until 5 o'clock.
Yeah, it was crazy.
You guys were gossiping. There was noise. Lebang, Khomolemo, Simpiwe. Your whole team from the MKT show were there as well. And they were all making a huge noise, and there was a whole lot of action. And I like it. I like the fact that there's this energy coming back.
Love it, love
Good.
it, love it. I mean, we'll end up doing it slowly. So I mean, after this series of kind of meetings that we're having this week, I'm probably gonna work at the office on a scheduled kind of regular basis, and then we'll see how we go. You know,
Good.
We'll
Good.
see how
I like
we go.
it. I like it. So, Borge, you've obviously got lots to tell us this morning. I mentioned at the start of the show that they broke my car window last night when I was having a lovely dinner in Parkhurst. So I got to have that fixed today. Do you have any suggestions as to what the best way is to do that?
So you'll probably find, Gareth, that your insurance company will tell you what the best way to do it is. But I would insist on a PG or a Glass Fit or one of the well-known brands.
Right.
Fitting it.
Are they very particular? Like, do they have to have stock of that particular window? Should you call in advance to see if they've got it? I mean, I haven't done this for ages, so I've forgotten.
Yes, you should call in advance to see if they've got it. If it's a popular car that is actually made in South Africa, then there shouldn't be problems with stock. The other thing that I've learned with windows and windscreens and stuff is just make sure that the quality of the windscreen or the windscreen itself is approved by the manufacturer.
Right.
Most of the time, the big brands like GlassFit and PG, they will have approved windscreens and windows. So just make sure that it is approved, because otherwise, you'll put something on your car that isn't approved by the manufacturer.
Awesome. Thank you for the advice. I always know that's you're my first stop with these things, but I'll also give Phil a call a little later on. It's his car, and I'll find out what he wants me to do. All right. So,
well, if it's a Mercedes, you will not have problem with stock.
No, it's a Hyundai Palisade, which is quite a new car. So I'm a little bit worried they might not have stock.
Yeah, you might run into issues, but I don't think so, because I had a windscreen chip on my I-Pace towards the middle to end of last year, and there wasn't an issue with stock of windscreens. So, and that's an imported car, and there's not many of them.
Well, everybody else is like, come on, can't you guys sort this out in your spare time? Why are you boring us with all the details? But I often think that if any of us have a problem with something car related, George is like the guy to ask. I mean,
how many times are you going to get to ask the CEO of Auto Trader what you should fit what window you should fit? This is also a pleasure for some of us.
And if you find me discussing my problems boring, let me just remind you what this show is called. Right?
I love it.
All right. So, George, what do you got for us today?
So there's a new driving code, or should I say a door opening code in the UK coming, and a new rule. You will get fined £1,000. I mean, £1,000 is like 15,000-20,000 rand if you open your car door with the wrong hand. Okay, so think about this for a second.
What?
If you're sitting on the right hand side of the car and you're the driver, you can't open your door with your right hand. Now, most of us probably open our door with our right hand, push the door open.
Sure.
Right?
Yes.
The new rule says you have to open the door with your left hand.
Why?
And the reason for this is because the amount of cyclists that are getting hurt in the UK is becoming huge. So they want you to turn to open the door with your opposite hand, and then so that you can look over your shoulder to see if there are any cyclists coming.
I mean, have they seen my boobs? I can't even play golf properly.
Right, exactly. Well, why that's
I didn't make the rule yet.
Yeah, but George, this is bullshit. I mean, so a bunch of cyclists can't see where they're going. Now everybody in cars has to change their behavior. I'm sorry, there's a hierarchy of things on the road. A car is more important than a bike. If you're on a bike, you have to be extra observant. Bike is more important than a pedestrian. Pedestrian has to look really, it's like in the Kruger Park. The lion doesn't have to look out for the impala. The impala has to look out for the lion, right? That's the pecking order. You get car, bike, human on feet. That's your pecking. You want to survive on the roads? Follow the rules. Why should the people in cars have to have another responsibility for the people on bikes? You can see, and if you can't see, why are you on a bike?
Well, I mean, I look at it this way. Yes, everybody's got to look out for everybody else. But the people that have to be the most cautious...
Sorry, George. No, I don't like that statement. We don't have to look out for everybody else. You look out for you. Most people can't even be responsible for themselves. Start there. Then you can worrying about everyone else.
Fair enough, but listen to my theory. So I think that the faster the vehicle or the thing on the road, or let me put it the other way: the slower the vehicle or the thing on the road, the more cautious it or he has to be.
Yes.
So
we agree.
So because high speed vehicles, travel past bicycles and pedestrians very quickly. And it's a lot more difficult. But in saying that, the biggest problem here is not the rule itself; it's the policing of the rule. How on earth are you going to tell whether someone has opened the door with the wrong hand?
Yeah, well, good luck to them. I want to see that. I want to see Boris Johnson's government enforcing this dumb rule. Good, it'll keep them busy. It'll keep them out of stopping people from drinking at the pub and other stuff that they've always been obsessed with. Good. Keep them busy, stupid bureaucrats.
And then in South Africa, there was a gentleman who filled his car with fuel. And when he filled his car with fuel, he wanted, on the slip it said that he had bought unleaded fuel. It was a VW Polo. And he drove away from the filling station, and then suddenly his car started spluttering and stalled.
Oh, shit.
It turned out that the filling station filled his car with diesel. And so, long story short, he went back to the filling station, demanded that they repair the car. They wanted to repair the car within the filling station's repair center, which in terms of the right to repair guidelines, repair centers can do that. He was insistent that the car be repaired by VW. And the filling station, there was a bit of a fight between the two of them. Eventually, the garage owner agreed to have the car repaired at VW. That was much more expensive, but I think the guy was within his rights to ask for what he wanted. But the point is, just because the slip says unleaded doesn't mean the person's put unleaded in your car. Make sure that the right nozzle comes off of that fuel thing.
Yeah. So it's partly, even if you're not going to be able to blame the filling station, you actually have to watch and make sure they do it as well. And again, you are asking someone whose job it is to fill the car with the right stuff. You're asking them to be shepherded into safety every time by you. You have more responsibility on the responsible. That's kind of how the world works.
Yeah, mistakes can happen.
Exactly.
Hey?
Yeah, well,
mistakes can happen. So it costs you nothing just to look. I mean, the different nozzles are different colors, so it's not very difficult to see whether the person's putting their hand on the diesel or the unleaded, and it's got a sign on it. It's got a sign on it, but it happens, and unfortunately this gentleman got away with getting his car repaired.
What do you have to do? Does it completely ruin the engine of the car? I mean, do you have to put in a new engine? Is it a total disaster, or can you have it somehow cleaned out? I mean, what kind of a process do you have to go through if you put the wrong fuel in your car?
It could very well cause you to throw your engine away. In certain circumstances, in certain engines, the injectors inside the car, which are little jets that spray fuel into the cylinder. Diesel is a very dirty, oily liquid. Those jets can't handle that. Sure. Chances are you have to replace all of those jets, and in some instances, a lot more can be damaged to the point where you could end up writing your car off.
Sure. All right. So Vernon says here, this is quite interesting. I don't know if you'll agree or not, George, but Vernon says diesel into petrol is not a problem, but petrol in diesel is a major problem.
I agree with that. That's why this VW owner was lucky to get away with it. So it was probably jets and dirty fuel system and fuel pump and fuel filters and all those things. But the other way around, diesel engines just can't handle petrol because petrol is a lot more volatile. It explodes a lot more violently. Yeah. So, I agree with that.
Peter says, and he's very angry. You could see by like the use of caps here. He's like, it's your car, so you should always get out and supervise the filling. All right, Peter, calm down. It's Friday morning. I need to get all heated here. Yes. Someone give Peter a chill pill.
Have some coffee, Peter. And then
don't give him coffee. It'll hype him up even more. Peter's not good.
Yes.
We've discussed this. Peter, please. We know you.
You're prescribing the wrong liquid as with the car.
Right.
Green tea, Peter. Green tea.
Yeah.
And then the 2021 Auto Trader Annual Industry Car Report is out. And you can go and download it on reports.autotrader.co.za. And very high level, there have been 637 million searches conducted on Auto Trader in the last year, which is a record high, representing a 28% increase in search for used cars.
That's phenomenal.
It translates into 20 consumers per second on Auto Trader.
Wow.
Think about that for a second. 20 consumers per second. That's
really some traffic.
And then BMW remains the top searched for brand. Hilux remains the top searched for model. And VW Golf GTI remains the top searched for variant. And we've got a special section on electric vehicles if you want to go and download it and read it.
Excellent. One last thing from my side, George. I saw some article this week about how they figured out that Polo drivers are the worst drivers in the country. Obviously, the insurance companies got together and compared statistics and discovered that Polo drivers are the worst drivers in South Africa. Is anyone surprised by that?
I saw that article and they were at the top. But if you looked at the percentages calculated, the reason why they were at the top is because there's so many of them. So you needed to look a little bit further. And the two that were up there was the Toyota Hilux and another taxi brand.
Okay. I want to give you a very specific niche. There's a bunch of white girls in the northern suburbs that drive the Fiat. You know this. There's a new little Fiat, George. You know the one I'm talking about. Bunch of white girls in the northern suburbs driving Fiats. They are undisputed the worst drivers in the world, and everyone knows who I'm talking about. So don't lie.
So that was going to be my very next thing, Gareth. So Leigh-Ann's absolutely right. You've got to contextualize this amongst a couple of other things. The highest market share in terms of sales of vehicles is the Hilux and the Polo. So it stands to reason that those will be, in the most crashed vehicles. But the most interesting thing here is that the Toyota Quantum was in third place. And the Toyota Quantum, 12% of all fatal crashes are involved with the Toyota Quantum, only has a vehicle population of 152,000 vehicles, which is very low. So that confirms that, minibus taxi drivers are not the, best, don't have the best habits on the planet.
Proportionally, you divide the number of accidents by the number of quantums you got, and they have a very high percentage of accidents.
But now, what made me question that further, and then I started getting into my own head, is it not because they're on the road the most?
Yes,
the most
so
hours
that could be yes. So the proportion of time spent driving could mean that statistic naturally goes up, and that kind of reduces the bad driving assumption.
All right, that brings us to an end for today. It's already Friday morning, and you've got a couple of things to do today, I'm sure. Get on with it. Let's have a nice weekend, and we will see you on Monday at 6 a.m. bright and early. Thank you, everybody. We will see